Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillah. I'm going to read a couple of short ayats, man, that's real powerful, but to answer a couple of questions. One brother asked me to kind of speak about the Shiites and I wrote it there, Ahmadiyans. Me personally, I don't really have like a serious opinion of them. Of course, some of the beliefs and things that they have that I'm aware of, I don't agree with. Can I say whether they Muslim or not? I stay away from that type of thing. But I will say I do personally know a couple of Shiites. And as far as some of the little differences in belief that they may have, they actually what I would consider to be, like, if they didn't tell you they were Shiite, they technically a pretty good Muslim. They got a little knowledge. I don't really know any Ahmadiyans. I just seen a couple of them, but I just leave it. I seen a couple of them on YouTube before, but I really don't have a real solid opinion of them. I haven't been around enough of them, and I would, when it comes to me, I have to be like, no matter what you call yourself, whether you call yourself Salafi, Ashari, Habashi, a Shiite, a Sufi, regardless of what you call yourself, even when you call yourself Muslim, I wouldn't base my opinion off what they call themselves. I would have to be around some that's actually knowledgeable for real and they study. It's just like the same with Muslim, because Islam is perfect but Muslims aren't. So you could look at certain Muslims and have one opinion of Islam, and then you could look at a whole nother different group of Muslims and have an entirely different opinion of Islam. So you could be around some Shiites and you can have a good opinion of them. Then you could be around some other ones and have a bad opinion. It's like that with everything. You could be around some Salafis and have a good opinion. Then you could be around some other ones and have a bad opinion. So sometimes when you tend to be around like some of the some that actually have a real understanding, academic, even if it's a small academic level, not people who just been listening to people that's been listening to people that technically never listened to anybody that was taught by anybody significant. You know what I'm saying? It's a different, no diss to them. So I don't really have a real opinion of them. And then the tribalism. I think I spoke on it briefly in the video where a brother asked me to speak about the tribalism and working together, like your group of people working together. So sometimes, man, people put tribe as a race of people. A tribe can consist of, just like for instance, you got the Quraysh, which is a tribe. Everybody from the Quraysh is not related to each other. So like in the gang culture, like now you have people who refer to it as their tribe, the gang that they used to be in. They not all related. They just a group of people that share a system of beliefs, commonality, and they clicked up. They marry within their tribes, right? And they stick together like one big family. And if it boils down to things, it's going to be our tribe versus this tribe. You know what I'm saying? They have their own little set of rules that they follow. They elect their own chief. They kind of put a perspective of tribe, what a tribe is, as opposed to people looking at it as a race of people. Similar to like how individuals who talk about the 12 tribes of Israel, how they try to make like it's but anyway, not to get into that. So with the tribalism, the situation where it's saying don't get together and work together as tribes against one another and things like that. So some people feel like Islam say that African Americans can't get together and try to form a business, or Arabs shouldn't get with other Arabs and form a business, or Indian, Pakistanis, or whatever. That's not what it's saying. So basically what it's referring to, and you can read about this in Tafsir's Ibn Kathir, well, in pretty much all the versions of Tafsir. Jalalain don't really get too technical on it, but there was a situation basically where the people from Medina migrated to Mecca. So one of the chiefs in Medina kind of made a statement that we giving them the strength. Like, you know, he made it, he said it in a derogatory way, like feeding a dog until they get enough strength to bite you. You know, he made a derogatory statement about the ones from Medina, but what he was basically saying was, you know, they weak right now. They coming to us. And now we just giving them enough strength for them to take over Medina from us. All this stuff we got going on, we're giving them the strength to bite us. You know what I'm saying? We feeding them. As soon as they get strong enough, they gonna bite us. So he wanted the Muslims from Medina to kind of click up against them. But, you know, because he was a chief in Medina. So you had to understand, you know, some people who was chiefs and felt like they had a certain thing, when Islam came, you may still had your status with your people, but the ranks of the deen came first, you understand? So he was feeling some type of way, although he was Muslim. So basically, one of the people from Mecca ended up kicking him. They got into a little argument, so he kicked him. So when he kicked him, he called up basically like, hey, everybody from Medina, from our tribes, you know, stand up. He kicked me. So when he kicked him, when he called the people from Medina to stand up, the one from Mecca said, hey, everybody from Mecca, y'all stand up with me. So they was finna, although they Muslim, they was finna fight one another based off of, they clicked up to fight one another tribally. It started to be Mecca versus Medina. You see what I'm saying? So when it's saying you can't work together in tribalism like that to go against another Muslim, to go against the Muslims, you see what I'm saying? Like in modern day times, you might have some people who click up and say, okay, we Salafis, we go to this masjid and we count these other masjids as Salafi, so we gonna click up and work against these other masjids that refer to themselves as Salafi. Or we Ashari, whatever you calling yourself. We gonna click up with our clique, our tribe, our group, and then we gonna work against and fight against, you know, destroy the honors of another group of Muslims. So that's what it's referring to. It's not saying African Americans can't get together and try to start their own business, even if it's a business that they feel like that's catered towards their people. Like, you know, just worldwide, inner cities that I go to, one thing that you will see that's a commonality amongst African Americans, Muslim or non-Muslim, as far as businesses, it'd be like some of them had like a barbecue or a soul food restaurant, or somewhere where they detail cars or do things like that, you know. And then the Arabs may have some chicken and fish spots, you know, just different things. It's not saying that they can't get together and do that and stick with themselves to prosper their business. You can't click up with each other to fight against other Muslims as Muslims. So that's what it's referring to. Don't work with each other just to go against each other. You see what I'm saying? And that's just in brief, man. So, and then a sister asked me to kind of speak about the rights of Muslims upon other Muslims, right? Because we using the word rights, let's just pull it up. Let's pull up the definition of it, right? So rights are considered, when you hit Google, legal, social, or ethical principles of freedom and entitlement, which can be defined by a country or laws that include civil rights like freedom of speech and religion. So those type of rights, right? And then there's legal rights. These are granted and enforced by a legal system. Okay, so then of course you have natural rights. These are ethical or philosophical rights that are not dependent on any government or culture and are considered universal, right? So just naming some of the different type of rights. So in Islam, when we using the term rights, okay, in the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal says, whenever you are greeted with a greeting, greet with a greeting that's better than it or at least the same. So, when a Muslim says to you, Assalamu alaikum, their right is that you greet them back with the same greeting, or at least with a better greeting, or at least the same greeting, or at least something. So if a Muslim salam you back and you don't salam them back and you don't have valid reasons, and sometimes people go through their mind and come up with their own reasons, but if you don't salam them back, then you violated their rights. Okay? So another right, just so that we can understand where it's coming from. So when let's say I'm sitting here and I have a plate of food. I got a Muslim who hasn't eaten in 2 days. Then I have a kafir who hasn't eaten in 2 days as well. Which one of them am I obligated to offer food to first? The Muslim. The Muslim have more rights to my food than the kafir does. If I don't, but as a human, although this person is a kafir, because we can't mistreat them, I have an obligation to try to feed them as well. You understand? Daki. So I have an obligation to try to feed them as well. Okay? But the Muslim has the most rights to my food, because we Muslim. We Muslims, we technically, because the way that we practice Islam, I'm gonna put it this way, and I hate to use this type of words. Technically, we don't practice Islam. Not saying this applies to everybody, but really, we don't practice Islam. We don't really implicate. We don't really put the deen to the forefront when it comes to one another. We just Muslims and live how we want to live, and we do what we feel is right. So we really violating the rights that we have with Allah. You understand? So sometimes we just deal with each other in what we feel like is best. Whether we violating each other's rights, this is how I feel, this is my mood, this is what I'm going to do. But we don't understand the position that it put us in with Allah Azza wa Jal. And it's difficult for some Muslims, man, who heart has a disease. Like, I know some people who is Muslim, they believe in Allah, Just like how the Quran say, you ask them who created everything. Depending on who they're around, they might say God because they don't want to say Allah because they have some issues. But a lot of people issue with Islam is the discipline. They don't feel like they don't feel like they have to make salah. Because again, they don't fully understand that salah is worshiping Allah and not a prayer. Although we do call it a prayer in English. It's an act of ibadah. You understand? So when you understand like being a slave or a servant of Allah, right? Then you understand that ibadah is actually being that servant. So these is acts of ibadah. Things that you do to try to please your creator. Things that you do to worship your creator, to show your creator the appreciation that you have for them allowing you to see, allowing you to hear, allowing you to speak, allowing you to be able to comprehend. So we don't understand that these things is actual ibadah. So they feel like we don't have to pray. They feel like I don't have to fast. I don't have to do none of this to show that I love Allah. But let them fall in love with somebody else. They're going to try to show this person that they love them. Now, some people, as Muslims, because they don't know how to love, and they don't know how to reciprocate love because they toxic. You see what I'm saying? They run from it or they fight it, or because they know that they feel love, like, okay, I feel like I love this person, so that means they know it. That means I'm showing it. My presence. You see what I'm saying? So some people just don't, you know what I'm saying? They don't know how to love. They don't know how to reciprocate love. And they have an ego-based understanding of what love is. Right? As Muslims, we're not that. So you just have Muslims, man, who they really don't know how to be friends. They really don't know how to be spouses. Right? They really don't even know how to coexist with each other, because especially from our culture, showing love is weakness. Loving one another gets you taken advantage of. All these things, man, that the shaitan put into the head of people. So you will see more friendships where people act like they hate each other more than they love each other. You will see marriages. If you could look through the window at some of these marriages, it'll look like people that hate each other. But they cloak it under, well, I love this person, but I don't know how to act. I don't know how to deal with it. And so the point is, we violating the rights that we have as one another as Muslims. You see what I'm saying? So it's just a real difficult thing, man. But the rights that we have as Muslims and as other Muslims, right, is we really need to learn them. We really need to learn them. And like one of the rights that we have with Allah, right? We have rights with Allah. The rights that we have with Allah is, if we don't violate the laws, the legislations, the Islamic principles, and don't overstep the boundaries that Allah Azza wa Jal has set. Like in the Quran, some English translations, it'll use the words like exceed the limits, transgressing. That's basically overstepping the boundaries. Okay, you done stepped over the line, but now you done took it too far. As long as you don't do none of that, the rights that you have with Allah Azza wa Jal is that Allah Azza wa Jal won't punish you. You see what I'm saying? So like learning our rights as Muslims is something that we really need to dig into. Because like I said, man, unfortunately, you have Muslims, they don't know how to be Muslim. Because I call myself Muslim, And I may put on the garbs of a Muslim, right? Whether you call it Arab, whatever you feel. That don't mean I know how to be Muslim. I might know how to make salat. I might know how to fast. But do I know how to be Muslim? Like, for instance, our neighbors. Our neighbors have rights over us, right? You will actually be held accountable on the day of Yom Kippur based off of how you treated your neighbor. Like, I have neighbors who violate my neighborly right all the time, but I leave it in the hands of Allah. They will put trash in my yard. They'll put big containers all up under my windows, I guess trying to collect rainwater or clean out dirty containers. You know, knock my gutters off. They'll just do all type of stuff. But I don't argue with them. One, I know that their mind ain't right. But I know that they have rights as neighbors. So I leave it in the hand of Allah. And I'm telling you, man, when you learn to leave stuff in the hands of Allah and just sit back, man, and see what... No, one thing about leaving things in the hands of Allah, because you know Allah is just. And when you see people going through things, even myself, I know that I earned it. I know Allah is putting me through it. Even if I'm just being tested with it, to see how I'm going to respond to the test. You see what I'm saying? To see how I'm going to respond to the test. And that could violate me. You understand? So, Allah is going to be just in the punishment. So if you ended up under the punishment of Allah and you're going through some things, you earned it, and the punishment that you're getting fits the crime that you committed. Fits the crime that you committed. And it's going to be based off your mental state. It ain't like this type of justice system where the person who can afford a good lawyer may get less time. The person who can't afford a lawyer, they did the exact same crime in the exact same place. One get 1,000,000 years and then the other one get a fine. It ain't like that when Allah has a wajel get on you. It ain't like that. It's going to be just. It's going to be perfect. So that's why you have to learn to leave things in the hand of Allah. You know what I mean? But we have rights of one another as neighbors. But, so, one of the brothers, man, you know, sometimes I don't like talking about marriage too much. But one of the brothers asked me a question, man. He sent me a text, and it was been a little while, but I wrote it on my board up here to remember to talk about it, right? 2 of them. But a little bit about marriage, man. And some things, one thing, man, when it comes, not only just marriage, but when it comes to being a Muslim, period, man, you have to have a lot of Sabr. You have to have a lot of Sabr. Because some people, okay, let me put this in a term where people can understand it. There's a difference between, like the old term where people know, being mentally retarded and having mental illnesses. Okay? Some people mind is just sick because their heart is full of disease. So this is why you have to have patience when it comes into friendships and marriages, and definitely dealing with family members, Muslim or non-Muslim, right? Family members all around the board, children, mother, aunts, sisters, brothers, cousins, everything. Some people have mental illnesses, right? A person may have been locked up in prison for a very long time. Went to prison as a young person and came out as an adult. Did 10, 15 years, right? Some of the things that they experienced in prison may plague their mind. And the way that it plagues their mind, if it determines how they function in society. So they may have a mental illness. That don't make them a bad person. That don't make them slow. That don't make them dumb. They just have they have a mental illness. But there's a cure for that. And see, Shaitan, these are the things that Shaitan play with the people. Sometimes in relationships, in marriages, sometimes people are used to particular type of relationships. Some people don't know how to love. Some people don't know how to reciprocate love. They don't know how to absorb actually being loved. They can't handle it. But it's due to a lot of the relationships that they've been in and a lot of the things that they've done with their mind and body. You know, like it might be a guy who liked a girl and she may have had a couple of children. And he felt bad for their situation, so he decided to enter the streets. Right? His way to fix her situation is money. Not try to guide her, not try to put her up on game, and not try to put her in a position where she's mentally able to help herself. So now he sacrificed himself to go sell drugs to fix her situation because he feel like it's financial. And then he gets locked up. And then he goes to prison. And then she move on with somebody else. Because she don't know how to love anybody. She don't know how to reciprocate love. She just know how to survive. And men is a part of her survival tactic. So him, when he gets out of jail, what he went through, he may have some type of mental trauma. This is a mental illness. So when he comes into another relationship, he may not be able to function as a normal, regular adult in that relationship because he had mental illnesses that he don't know how to cure. So you have to have a lot of sabr, man, in friendships, in relationships, and in marriages. Because some people, and this is something that I said to another Muslim, I'm going to stop using the word toxic and use the word institutionalized. Because some people, they act the same way in every single relationship, in the majority of the relationships that they've been in. But they will cloak it under this is how they're being treated. And they can't stand when a person match their energy. Let me give you an example. Let's say there's nothing really wrong with a woman. There's nothing really wrong with her. But she might want you to keep saying, baby, what's wrong? Baby, what's wrong? Right? And cater to this. She wants to be babied. Even if she's in her 50s. Even if she's in her 60s, she still wants to be baby. Or a brother with the same thing. Just baby, what's wrong? Baby, what's wrong? But there's really nothing wrong. They just want you to do that. Once they get with the person that doesn't do that, they don't know how to handle that relationship. Because they're not matching the childish energy. Sometimes a childish person can't handle grown-up energy. So when they used to a childish relationship and they used to feeling like I'm having my way, I do this, nobody's going to check me, nobody's going to do this, male or female. But then when they enter a relationship with a person that doesn't match that energy the same way, they just sit around and let them act like they ain't got no sense. They don't know how to deal with that. So sometimes you in relationships with people that have mental illnesses. They don't know that they mentally sick because they don't know how to properly function in a friendship or a marriage. So you have to have patience with them. And that's why some people, man, they have to be careful when they go through their choosing process. And how much patience are you willing to have? You see what I'm saying? Because in one mind, the guy might feel like they walking over you. He might feel like he's taking advantage of you. But you might be sitting back saying, okay, cool. This gonna be over with. The brother might see the same way. She might think she walking over you. She might think you soft. She's testing you. Let me see what I could get away with, and let me see what I can't get away with. They might feel like they're getting away with everything. But when you Muslim, you don't know what Allah's going to do to you for treating your wife that way or treating your husband that way. So you have to learn how to have sabr, man. And you have to learn how to, like the Quran say, man, seek assistance through patience, sabr, and prayer. Dua, salah, making 2 rakats tawbah, night prayers. Do what you got to do. You understand? So as me answering, the brother question, I'm going to read surah number 66, ayat number 1, because he having some difficulties, man. He has not putting it out there because he listens, so I'm gonna be careful with my words, but I'm gonna be blunt because nobody know who it is. But in reality, he's married to someone who hasn't really had a functioning emotional functioning adult relationship. It don't mean they never lived with somebody and paid bills. It don't mean that they never lived with anybody and accumulated dunya. Because to some people, that's a functioning relationship. But their interactions is dysfunctional because sometimes both of them are still little kids in the head. So his wife hasn't really dealt with that. And then you could look at some of the relationships that she's been in. And this is what you have to look at. And you could look at some of the relationships that he's been in. Some of the guys that she left, that the relationships ended, they still little kids. They still little kids in the head. At 60, 50. So she really dealt with adult men that was little kids. While she was a little kid herself that really didn't know how to be a woman. Being a woman to her meant she knew how to wash her vagina and keep her body clean. Okay? She knew how to do certain things when it came to the bedroom. That's what being a woman meant to her. Because she learned that as a kid. Okay? So when you look at some of the relationships with the people he's been in, the women are like successful, independent, they're adults. Not every last one of them. Some of them may have some mental illnesses. Some of the mental illnesses came in from their relationship ending. But they was functioning, emotionally functioning adults. So sometimes you're dealing with people, man, who don't know how to function emotionally as an adult. People use words like emotionally available, new terminologies. But sometimes people can't function emotionally as an adult. You will see adult women might walk around the house stomping their feet. You might see them looking out the window or standing in the door like, well, it's me. Who's going to open this door for me? Because emotionally, they're not an adult emotionally. This is male and female. So sometimes you might end up in a situation like that. And this is the brother who's asking me the question. This is somewhat of a situation. But I'm going to give you some comfort from the from the Quran, because unfortunately, the Rasul had to deal with some wives who got a little childish. Whether it was jealousy, whether it was because of their age. But look what Allah tells him in the Quran. And this is something, man, not only brothers but sisters, this is an important note, man, for the Muslims. Right? In Surah 66, ayat number 1. Right? O Prophet. And I'm going to use a thematic Quran. And the theme of this is a lesson to the Prophet's wives. Right? Because sometimes, man, these women, not saying men don't either, but they get a little high and mighty in a relationship. They start thinking you can't find better than them. You might really be the worst girl that they ever had. Mentally, sexually, emotionally. You may have looked better than a couple of other ones, but you may have been the worst female that they been with. But in their head, you can't do better than them. You can't replace them. There's no way you could get another woman. So sometimes, man, with this, they don't understand a little bit of an arrogance, some kibber can sit in. And they start to get beside theyself. You understand? So look what happens with this Quran ayat. O Prophet, why do you prohibit yourself from what Allah has made lawful to you, seeking to please your wives? So it was some things that Allah Azza wa Jal said that the Rasul could do. The Rasul went and made them, I don't want to use the word haram because some people's ears ain't ready for that, but he prohibited himself. I'm not allowed to do these things because he wanted to please his wives. Okay? And Allah is all forgiving and most merciful. Allah has already ordained for you believers the way to absolve yourselves from your oaths. So let's say you're going to do something and you might say wallahi, but then something might happen or circumstances may change and then you don't do it. Allah is saying, I done already itch. When you fall into that type of situation, I done already gave you the remedy for what you do when you fall into that. Right? For Allah is your guardian, and Allah is the all-knowing and the all-wise. You need to worry about Allah first, not your wives. You understand? Because Islam, I ordained, and you're a prophet, I ordained for you to do certain things and certain things to be permissible. If you say that it's not permissible, or if you stay away from it, what the rest of the ummah going to do? What if somebody jot that down and then it ends up in an athar, and then somebody who's not really educated misuse that athar and test the people with it and force a particular behavior that you fell into that you shouldn't have had? Now my ummah, Allah's ummah, through the Rasul, Allah is falling into this era. Allah is your guardian, not your wives. Okay? Now look at this. Remember, when the Prophet had once confided something to one of his wives. So the Rasul told his wife something. Now this is why I feel bad for people who don't read tafsirs and hadith, because wouldn't you like to know what happened with this situation? Wouldn't you like to know which wife this was? So the Rasul had confided. So when you confiding, it's not like we just talking about something and we don't mind you saying something to the other ones. Whether it's in a marriage, whether it's to your family, whether it's to your friends. This is just a regular conversation. But when you confide in somebody and say, this stays between me and you, on both sides. She tell her husband, this stay between me and you. He tell his wife, this stays between us. He confided in one of his wives. This is in the Quran, right? he confided something to one of his wives. Then when she basically, you see, you got to know the whole story, but she basically went and told it to another wife. See, she's plotting. She's trying to cause some turmoil. And see, you got to understand, some people so chaotic, they don't know how to live in peace. So they will create chaos in a home even when they by themselves. You can leave them alone and they have problems. Their mind won't let them not be chaotic. And then if they don't have nobody to put that energy off on, whether they got a wife in the house or a husband in the house, let's say they don't have a wife or a husband, once they leave the home, they go project that chaotic energy on their co-workers, their family members, or their friends. Some people just chaotic people. You may be married to one of them. They're going to figure out ways to create chaos in the house. It's just, it done became a part of their nature. And especially if they practice their deen a certain type of way, Shaitan is going to play with their head. You got to learn how to have Sabr. You got to learn how to leave things in the hands of Allah. Right? So, she went and disclosed some of it, right? She went and disclosed it to one of the wives. So, Allah Azza wa Jal made it known to the Prophet. Revealed it in Revelation. That's why it's in the Quran right now. Then, and Allah made it known to the Rasul and made part. And so when the Rasul went and presented it to her, part of it. So when he informed her of it, she wanted to know, who told you this? Now, just think about that. Now she's saying, who told you this? Because he confided in her. She went and confided in the other wife. But now when it comes to him, she want to know if the other wife, violated what she confided her in and told the Rasul. Who told you this? How'd you find that out? See the chaos? When in the beginning, she was the one that was up to no good. She was the one plotting. She was the one playing games. And Allah revealed it to the Rasul. Sometimes, and if the Rasul had to deal with this type of stuff, we definitely going to have to deal with it. But when you don't read hadiths or athar, when the actual people in the situation is breaking down what went on, what was said, why they did what they did, you don't get none of that. So you don't get a full understanding of it when you don't deal with tafsirs and hadiths. So look what it says, right? He replied, I was informed by the all-knowing, all-aware. Allah told me. It will be better. So Allah revealed, it will be better if your wives, both of them, turn to Allah in repentance to make tawbah, for your hearts have certainly faltered. Your hearts done became ill a little bit. You see what I'm saying? You done let some things seep into your heart. And now you're going to create a situation. You've created a situation. Now you want to play victim. Now you want to play victim to the circumstances that you created as a wife. And brothers and sisters, these is things that you will see in your marriage and in your friendships. You created the situation. But instead of when he bring it to her, instead of saying, I'm sorry, I never should have did that, instead of doing the rights that he has as a Muslim, instead of giving him his rights, she goes into victim mode. Who told you that? Whoever told you that did me wrong about me doing you wrong. Instead of making it right and saying, I'm sorry, I did say something to this and that. She forgot about Allah. Did she forget that Allah listens and hears and sees? But look what it goes on to say, right? So Allah says it would be better for both of them to repent because their hearts have surely faltered. They've slipped. They fell into some sickness, right? But if you continue to collaborate against him. Allah is telling them in the Quran, if y'all continue to plot and play games against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then know that Allah himself is his guardian, and the angel Jibreel, and the righteous believers. They all look over the affairs of the Rasulullah. And the angels are all in his support as well. You ain't going to be able to get away from nothing. Allah will put it in one of the righteous believers to peep the situation and come pull the Rasul coattail. Y'all not going to get away from it. Y'all keep playing games, keep plotting, and keep collaborating against the Rasul. This is the Rasul wives. Allah is putting them on to them. Allah is telling him of what his wives is on. But Rasulullah, although they created the circumstances that they want to play victim in, and now he has to walk around the house with them like everything is cool. He got to leave it in the hands of Allah. He didn't even have to tell her that Allah put him on to what was going on. But was her mindset to make it right? Nah. Who told you? How you find out? Who betrayed me? I need to get some get back. As soon as you leave, I'm going to go check her. Because she got caught up in her wrongdoing. But you can't check Allah. So look what else Allah says, right? Perhaps if he chooses to divorce all of you, Allah will replace all of you with better wives who are submissive to Allah. Allah didn't say wives who are submissive to the Rasul. He said, well, wives who are submissive to Allah, faithful to Allah, and devout, and repentant, and dedicated to worshiping and fasting. Whether they be previously married women, or whether they be virgins. Huh? Look what Allah tell them. Wives who are submissive to Allah, faithful to Allah, and devout. They faithful and devout to this deen. They repentant. They make the situations right with Allah. They make tawbah. Then they stay away from that thing. And they dedicated to worshiping. Salah, zakah. I'm not saying prayer. I'm saying salah. They dedicated to their salah. They dedicated to their fasting. Not just Ramadan. Mondays, Wednesdays, every other days, the 3 days of the month, whatever fasting is out there. See, y'all think because you had the Rasul and he put up with your nonsense, like Allah can't have him divorce you and get something better. And see, the thing that a lot of these sisters don't put in their mind, because they may be proficient at building busters. If he had the Rasul divorce you, how you going to get another Rasul? See, Allah can replace every last one of y'all with somebody better. While they thinking, you can't get no better than me. We sitting up here plotting and playing games like Allah don't know what we thinking, like Allah don't know what's in our heart. And while Allah Azza wa Jal saying your hearts have truly faltered, it's because you done let some sickness seep into your heart, see? You done allow some sickness to seep into your heart. And then you acted up on it. And then not just acted up on it on your own, you brought another one of his wives into it, and then y'all collaborated on some foolishness against a righteous man that you're married to. So Allah Azza wa Jal is making it clear. You think I won't give the Rasul better wives than y'all? Wives who's really devout in salah, in ibadah, right? Who's dedicated to it and fasting. Not y'all who's sitting around here just running through Islam, calling yourself Muslim, living however you want to, thinking that Allah won't replace you. Allah will give him better. So, and I'm saying, so like with the brother, as long as you diligent on what you got going on, and this situation, if Allah choose to put in your heart to divorce that sister, because you doing what you supposed to do, and the faltering is on her, she's creating the circumstances and the system that she's soaking and playing victim in. Allah knows that. You may not know it, because you may forget about Allah. And you may, instead of, like it start off saying, why do you prohibit yourself from what Allah has made lawful to you? Because you're trying to please these women. Why go against Allah because you're trying to please your wives, man? Not saying this don't also apply to the sisters, but look what else it says, right? Look what it says. O believers, protect yourselves and your families from a fire whose fuel is people and stones, overseen by formidable and severe angels who never disobey whatever Allah orders, always doing as commanded. The deniers will then be told, O disbeliever, make no excuse this day, you are only rewarded for what you used to do. Now, with this ayat where it's saying, look what follows it up. You're supposed to protect, O believers, not husbands, O believers, Muslim men, Muslim women, protect yourselves and your families from a fire, from the hellfire. This stuff that you're doing, you're causing turmoil, strife, disagreement, and you're plotting in the marriage. As a wife, brother, you're plotting, you're scheming, and you're scamming, and you're doing things in the marriage that lead to turmoil. It leads to the punishment of Allah, and you can end up in the hellfire, as opposed to protecting your household, protecting your wives, protecting your husbands, sisters, protecting your children from these type of situations, because they lead to the hellfire. Some people they create the circumstances that they want to soak in and play victim in. And then some of them, some sisters, just like some brothers, they was in a bad situation. Allah Azza wa Jal replaced the brother bad wife with a good one. But he couldn't stop being the person that he was when he had the bad wife. He couldn't mentally lead that relationship to be a good husband to the good wife that Allah replaced him with. Some of these sisters, Allah replaced these bad brothers with a good brother. But these sisters didn't know how to be with them, because they only know how to be in toxic relationships with built up busters. This is a reality. Some sisters, and I talk about it all the time in my videos, some sisters, Ramadan be coming. Oh, I want to get married before Ramadan comes. I want a husband to fast with. I want a husband to lead me in prayer. I want a husband to sit around where we read books and we read and we study. Because she's with a husband, and her complaint with him is, we don't do none of that. We don't pray. We don't pray together. We don't pray separately. We don't read. We may listen to a lecture every now and then. When Ramadan comes, we're not doing the fasting together and sitting with the Muslims. We're not doing any of that. I want a husband to do that. Then Allah replaces the person that they want to get away from with a person that they can do all that with. And then what the sister do? She don't pray. She don't fast. She don't read. All the stuff that she asked for. So now she has became, for the brother, what she felt like her husband was for her. And see, these type of situations is supposed to humble the Muslims. Same with the brother. Now that you got this sister, and I done did countless videos about that I've seen personally. Two people who refer to themselves as Muslims have one of the most un-Islamic marriages known to man. They getting high, they drinking, they talking and doing things with other people, both of them, whether it gets sexual or not. And then they treat each other like they both ain't doing the exact same thing. How dare you when they doing the exact same thing to each other. Right? There's no real praying, there's no leadership, there's no guidance, there's no her protecting herself and them from the fire. There's no him protecting himself and themselves from the fire. And then they split. He get a good sister, she gets a good brother. And now they both brought both of those toxic ways into that marriage with them other people. And if they end up with people who don't know how to have sabr, Allah might have him divorce them. Allah might put it in their heart to send them separate ways. And the one who's in the right might get better. Or they might get better so that they can get tested with it. And say, this is why you was with who you was with. Because this is who you're built for. Brother, this is why you had that wife that act like that. Because this is the type of woman you built for. Not making fun of no Muslims, but some people do better with each other because some people can't be what they talking about. So, this is just to comfort your heart, brother, and let you know the Rasul had to deal with it. But Allah exposed it to him. Allah will expose your situation to you too. You just have to be in good standings with Allah and stay firm on your deen and leave it in the hands of Allah. Let them act up, man. Let them run around and play victim and try to reverse the circumstances because this is kibr. Let them do that. You could try to talk to them. You could try to advise them. But some people, when they in that mode, this is the same with the sisters. When they in that mode, they don't take advice well. They hear advice 2-3 years later. Because they too stuck and fixated on who they think they are. Just like the Rasul wives. Who do y'all think y'all are? By the Rasul putting out, I give him wives who really for real about this thing. I give him wives who's dedicated to making salat and fasting. Who's truly submissive to Allah Azza wa Jal. Whether they've previously married, whether they some sisters who've came through the dunya and been with 100 men and accepted Islam. Whether she's that type of sister. Allah changed what's in the hearts of the people. She accepted Islam and changed all that. Now she's a better person than you. Or she might even be a virgin who don't even have any experiences with being with a man, but still may know how to actually be a woman with a man who is an adult emotionally. Who know how to be an adult emotionally in a relationship. Who's not out to twist and bend the relationship where it caters to her and her only. Only her needs and how she feels is important. You know what I'm saying? You can't beat a woman and expect her to be submissive to you out of love. Women, you can't try to emotionally abuse a husband and think you walking over him and think you mistreating him and expecting him to love you the way you feel like you need to be loved. That's Majnoon. Now, because some of these sisters they used to build in a buster who gonna sit down and kiss their butt. You know what I'm saying? But then, like I say, when they bump into ones that's not like that, man, they not emotionally ready, man. You know, whether they call it emotionally available, having emotional intelligence. Sometimes, man, people need to learn how to be adults emotionally, man, and mentally. And let me close it out, because I had another one. After difficulty comes ease. So, like, even with these situations, man, and when people's situations and they, you know, they going through a rough patch in life, not just in friendships, not just in marriages, not just at work, not just with siblings, but I mean just as a whole, they having a rough patch. Look what Allah Azza wa Jal. And even like with the brother, where you have a wife who's making things difficult. Because see, some women, they get difficult on purpose to see how much you gonna bow down. How much you bow down, how soft you get, how much you become a sucker, means how much you love them. Some of them equate that to loving them. Some of them equate that to caring about them. And when they toxic, they can only see through that lens. If you don't bow down, if you don't cater to them, but you really trying to uplift them and pull them, take them from being a baby to a grown woman, they can't process that. So they only see through a toxic lens. And if they if they practice Islam a certain type of way, Shaitan is gonna play with their head, man. The biggest rewards that the Shaitan get from, that the Shayateens get from Shaitan, is the ones who cause strifes in between marriages. So Shaitan is gonna creep in. And when you have people who don't know how to be Muslim, they don't know how to guard themselves. But even if you a sister and you got a husband who don't know how to do that stuff, you got to stand on what you got to stand on, because Allah Azza wa Jal is going to be just. And the one who's truly violating those rights, they going to see it. Same with the brother. If your wife really don't know how to be Muslim, they don't really want to learn how to be Muslim, and they stuck on who they are, and you can't do better, and whatever they think, they need to be fixated on if they could really get another you, and they don't have to walk around and convince themselves in their head that you was such a horrible person and you this and that, because they need to do that so they could sit around and be toxic with some buster. Not saying they truly busters, but that's how they view them. But they still never got that emotional stability. They're not going to get them another Rasul. Even if they end up in a kingdom, even if they end up in a mansion with fine cars and this and that, that void isn't going to be filled. Allah Azza wa Jal will see to it that it isn't filled. See, some people energy is too powerful for some people, man. The energy too powerful. You know what I'm saying? I seen where a sister told a brother, man, and it was a heavy conversation. Your energy, what you come with, it will break me. It'll break me. It ain't even about you bringing out feminine energy into me. You take me far past feeling like a grown woman. You make me feel like a little schoolgirl. Your energy will break me. Some people too powerful, man. Some people don't know how to absorb good energy, man. They toxic, B. They institutionalized to the system that they set up in order to govern their lives of busterism. They too institutionalized to the system of busterism, man. So look at this one right here. This is uplifting the heart. Surah 94. Have we not uplifted your heart for you? Have we not uplifted your heart? Relieved you of your burden? What you was going through, what had you down, we lifted your heart. Whether it was relationship, whether it was friendships, whether it was situations at the masjid, whether it's situations at work. We removed you from that situation. We rectified that situation and uplifted your heart where you feel good in your heart about it. Sometimes Allah Azza wa Jal do that for people, and then they choose them toxic ways that they can't get away from. Let me bring that toxicity back, right? Right? We relieved you of that burden and that hardship which weighed so heavily on your back. Where it's in your mind, it's in your heart. Shaitan playing with you. You being tricked. You twisting and turning the situation, trying to figure out a way to feel good about it, but you can't because you know you've played a role in the destruction of it. But Allah still lifted your heart, right? And elevated your renown for you, right? Even elevated your status, uplifted you out of the conditions that you was in. You went from a have-not to one that haves. You went from walking to a car. You went from living with this person to a house. You went from this bad relationship to a good relationship. But sometimes it's too powerful. Some people can't handle it. It's kind of like some people who ain't used to money, and then you give them $1 million. That $1 million might break some people. They don't know how to handle it. It turned them into something else, right? But Allah rectified all this, and then saying you should have learned from what you went through, though, so you can keep yourself out of them situations. So surely with the hardship that you went through, ease came from up out of that. And surely with that hardship comes more ease. So there's more ease to come. So once you have fulfilled your duty, once you stay obligated to Islam, after that ease comes, you understand? After you out of that situation of difficulty, don't keep having the same behaviors that had you in the situation that you was in. Once you get to that ease, and then even more ease, fulfill your duties and your obligations as a Muslim and strive in devotion, turning to your Lord alone with hope. Surah number 94, man. Allah Azza wa Jal is giving it to us plain and clear. Allah pulling us, a lot of us, out of situations, man. And then when we get out of those situations and get in a better situation, we be the causers and the creators of turmoil from situation to situation to situation. Friendships, siblings, marriages, and everything. And see, one thing, sometimes I don't want to use the word assets or attribute or the greatest, but sometimes a good quality that you may have that benefits you can be deemed to be harmful around other people. So you have to understand when you're dealing with manipulative people. One thing that is a good quality that I feel like I have, and it may be a quality to a fault, I leave people alone. I let people be. If I'm the problem, cool, I'll move around. If you choose to move around, I'm going to let you. But see, some people don't want you to let them move around. They want you to sit around, oh, baby, baby, please, baby, please. Or, you know, with the women, the man wants you to sit around, baby, please, baby, what can I do? What can I do? I don't have that in me, because I see it don't work for people. You see what I'm saying? Once you put your hands on the ground like this, for the type of people that's gonna step on your fingers, they're gonna step on your fingers. Why am I gonna put my hand on the ground so you can step on my fingers? So I don't have that. So I leave people alone, man. I let people be. I leave things in the hands of Allah. Sometimes people will manipulate that and try to push like it's a bad thing, because they know deep down inside, man, they can get to a point where you will leave them alone also. They want to manipulate you and twist you to put up with their foolishness. And then they want to test the situation to see how far they can push. Can I get an inch? Can I get a yard? Can I get a mile? You can get as much as you want, because it's only going to hurt you. And then sometimes for some people that's even more bothersome, because they want you to hurt by it. Friendships, everything. Have sabr. And then understand, learn from these difficulties, because there's going to be some ease that's going to come after it, as long as you handle your business as a Muslim, man. But anyway, man, I got to go do what I got to do. So hopefully, man, I explain everything. And hopefully, brother, hopefully this help you. But take from it and build on it, because you know more about your situation than what I know. But really sit down and look at the situation and assess, look at yourself first. What can I do to be different? What am I doing? And don't feel like trying to rectify or fix your own mistakes make you soft. Oh, I'm bowing down. I'm surrendering to her. See, these things, this stuff is kibber. This is Shaitan playing with the mind and the hearts of the people. And really look at the situation. Is she playing victim, or is she a victim? Did she create the circumstances that she's playing victim in? Or did you truly create the circumstances? Is she playing or not? Really look at everything. Really look at everything. But at the same time, don't put your fingers down just so that they could continue to step on your hands. No. No. But just know, step your deen up. That's what you do, brother. Step your deen up. Step your ibadah up. And then let Allah Azza wa Jal reveal to you. And then let Allah Azza wa Jal put in your heart what you need to do. You see what I'm saying? Because like I'm telling you, man, I've seen so many people, man, they put things on other people, and then their situation come to an end, and they go through turmoil. But, and it's even with the sister, but the brother, he ain't go through none of that. He chilling. He ain't went through no bad, goofy, horrible relationships. He ain't set up and try to build no buster. And sometimes vice versa. He moved around, and then she really has some real peace, not fake peace, not making a fake life look good. You know what I'm saying? Not no look at me, we ballers, for, you know what I'm saying? Like I say, trying to entertain their haters when they empty inside, then they can't figure out how to fill that void. And then they guilty, and they feel regretful, and they feel remorse. Shaitan playing with their head and their heart. Their mind and heart become different, like I be saying in other videos. And then they got to sit around somewhere because they can't figure out anybody to move forward with them. And now they can't get the person back that they want to move forward with. So now they want to figure out how can they cause problems and try to mess up anything that the other person got going on. And this is unfortunate, because this is something that Muslims do to other Muslims. Sister, it's over with. This brother ain't been in a relationship with you, a serious relationship with you, for 9 years, 10 years. And then because you thought he couldn't do better than you, he could never get another Muslim woman, he could never do this, he could never do that, then may ended up with somebody that you felt like you was better than, but you was never able to replace him on no level. Whether financial gain or anything else. You played around with a couple of people, but you couldn't fill that void. Now you still want to be a problem. And then if he end up married to somebody else, you still want to try to figure out how to ruin that. As a Muslim, violating all the rights, but then you expect Allah Azza wa Jal to open up the gates of Jannah for you. Why you trying to destroy and cause harm to other Muslims based off of circumstances that you created that you trying to play victim in? Man, we got to be careful, man. This deen ain't nothing to play with, man. Anyway, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.